like how new systems would work. Like we should just keep to our principles that that are give people an understanding out there that's rare. Shows how systems work. So anyway, so yeah, welcome everybody, and just I'll go ahead and just officially start the meeting here. We're not going to have Cliff today, apparently. Maybe he'll jump in later, but because I know he has a lot of updates on his end about Ukraine and about the platform here that we engage. Um, Now, I wanted to kick it over to Woody. Didn't you have a little something to share?
Could you just give me a couple of minutes before I get to that?
Yeah, of course. I have something I can share with the group in the meantime. And by the way, Patty, you're keying up, so I think your voice recognition is maybe active for some reason. But anyway, just be aware. Maybe you can mute yourself in between times when you talk. I don't know. Anyway, that's not a big deal. But I have this education thing that we've been compiling, this education framework document, and it's just a compilation of a bunch of education ideas and principles, goals. It's an exploration of what an education system could be from the standpoint of possibility. Where education and where our systems allowed to truly flourish. Without the corruptions and limitations of financial capitalism and whatnot. So I'll share the link here. One second. In the actually the international voice chat might be locked. One second. Yeah, so I'm gonna put the this link into the open discussion channel so I can show you guys what I'm referring to.
Just quickly,
few,
Patty, what platform are you on? Are you on your phone or are you on the computer?
Computer.
Okay, I was just wondering if you might be able to hit the microphone mute button when you're not talking. You can hit it again when you want to talk. It's just that because me and Brandon, we can hear ourselves kind of coming through your speakers and microphone.
I've been having it unmute. I only hit it when I do speak. I've been turning it off. I don't know what's going on with that because it's been on mute all this time, and I know you said something, but I looked and it's I just hit it so I could talk, but I'm turning it off right now.
Oh, okay. It's usually it shows us that if somebody's muted next to their name, and I can't see a mute symbol, so I wonder if you're muting it some other way.
Well, just Patty. If you right click on your name, there's a mute option. I don't know if you can try that. If you right click on your name.
Got a little microphone here, and I click it. When I click it, it's got like a real little red slash through it. See,
yeah,
I'm gonna
on the microphone itself. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do when I don't talk, and then I'm gonna turn it off right now. Let me know.
All right, that should work.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. But yeah, so here's the link here in the again open discussion down a couple spaces down below us here, and you can't open that in Safari, by the way. You have to use a different browser other than Safari. Some of our documents are up on this cloud, TZM cloud thing. We're still working out some things to, like our calendar is on this cloud too, and you can't access our calendar, but we're working on those things. So, but yeah, this is the education document I was talking about, and it's got just
wait. Where did you put it?
Basic outline is. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, an open discussion, just a couple rooms down from us in lounge. There's a little open discussion channel. You can post links and we can talk because the international room is not working right now, so it's closed.
Oh, the
So we
international
can
room.
talk in open.
The international room should be working now. I changed the permissions on that one.
Really, I can't type in there.
Oh, right. Okay, I'll have to have a look at the settings.
Okay. But yeah, this again, education document. I know education is probably not. There are bigger issues. Sustainability crisis, fixing the problems of capitalism. There's bigger issues right now other than fixing education. But as it says somewhere in the document, this is still something that will be beneficial and still something that will be important for us to do. To kind of figure out how to get some of these ideas, this holistic scientific train of thought into curriculum to start to build critical thinking awareness, at a very young age, and just in general, reimagining systems, not only education, but I think this, personally, was a good exercise for me to write about. And a lot of this stuff wasn't even my, stuff. This is again a compilation of many people's ideas from within the movement and without, from Jock, from Millennial in here, from Woody, from just people here in Los Angeles, just from all over the place. So it's truly a compilation. But was trying to go with that? I kind of lost my train of thought. Anyway, so yeah, just that we start to as a system change movement that is trying to create a new sustainable system for society. It's just useful to start to begin to get into the details of what new systems would be. Systems of safety. What governance looks like. These what systems of education looks like. What systems of decision making look like. And so anyway, um, this is just like being refined still. It's not something that we're really like pushing out to share with the movement broadly yet. But I just thought I'd share it, and just if you want to contribute to it, if you have ideas, I'll put an email in the chat, and I'm always on here. You can reach out, but yeah.
That's cool. I'm very interested in that topic, actually. I believe fixing our education system is near top priority just because that's one of the things I think that kind of separates us all, our vastly different education that we receive all around the world that sets us up differently for digesting information. Because like you said, like there is a war of information essentially going on out there. And a huge part of it is just that about half the people aren't really good at filtering through what's false from what's true, filtering through misinformation. There's a really bad, not a lot of places focused on media literacy and critical reading. And so those two parts of education in particular, I think, are critical to get down and just get everyone to be a master of dealing with misinformation, propaganda, and all that stuff. And that'll make their job a lot easier going forward.
Yeah, totally. And kind of like teaching people how to like find what's significant and what's not, and how to sorry for the background noise here. Yeah, how to go about pursuing your own course of understanding. And yeah, I think education is critical just in the most general sense too. We need to continue to build an understanding out there culturally. We need to massively evolve in understanding and maturity. But then, as far as specifically systems of education, yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about, and it is fundamental to society. It's just the generational time that it may take for those ideas to actually take effect when we have like serious sustainability like issues that are like gonna make
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's always hard to sort of weigh
Anyway,
these things, but yeah.
again, it's still something important we should be doing, and um, it'll just be a cumulative thing we can add to over time
Yeah,
as
all this is.
ideas come up.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Okay. What, yeah, I agree. Everything needs to be overhauled. The education system, because that should be top priority. Our health system, our government. I had an ideal about, because somebody's got to be in a position of power, whether we like it or not. Somebody's got to be like an overseer that we can go as a community. But these people, instead of having an election or something, make a test. Make a test that the people got to go, and then each person that would like to be in that position, give them like a number as they come in, and on the test only have the number, and the people who grade or vote on the test do not know who the person who just took that test. And so it would be totally unbiased. It would be based on what the questions were answered, for the position to are y'all following me?
No, I feel you. I feel
Yeah,
you.
and I think that people that have positions of high responsibility should have to be quote credentialed in that sense, and it should have to be merited. People have to have training. We have to continue to that has its place,
Yeah,
Yeah, but not only the.
there's absolutely, I would say, nothing wrong with that idea. In fact, I think it's a very valid idea. The problem is that in certain places, in particular, I can speak with the United States, is that would be a very politically hot topic because we have this sort of innate idea that nobody's right to vote and to run for political office and sort of these freedoms are innate and can never be curtailed in any way. But in reality, the same thing should apply to a lot of things. You should only be able to say things or speak with authority on things if you can prove you have the authority on such a thing. But of course, you can be a president without any credentials whatsoever in the United States and most places.
Yeah, well, we got to get rid of this government system. It's too corrupt. I just wish we had a resource-based economy. That would be the perfect thing. Work with the earth, work with everybody. Everybody would, but yeah, everybody wants the right to vote and see who's in there. But we need to get rid of some of this government. It's a waste of time. The people aren't concerned about what's really going on. And it's not a voting system. It should be run on if you have the knowledge to do this. And since there would be no money involved if there was a resource-based economy, I think everything should be gradually done over, but an ideal of testing, and nobody knows who took that test, and so it's totally unbiased, and it's not a voting system at all. And the people can get together if they don't like that person's ideals and roll them out, and we'll do a new test. So the people should always have the voice somehow.
Yeah,
Am I making sense?
yeah, certainly. We definitely need democratic institutions across the board. I mean, education has to be an open, democratic institution. It can't be privatized or have power systems of power using it to indoctrinate people to perpetuate the existing system and create a good labor force and all that. It needs to be an open, democratic, institution that is owned and intelligently shared by the people. Same as every other institution of health, of decision making, politics, and governance is also owned and run by corporate financial interests. That's why we have to recapture society from market, you know, private market power, basically. But that's a process. That's such an overarching process. We are building towards that, Patty, like towards a RBE, resource-based economy. But it's such a, I mean, it starts with education is the imperative. Building awareness and targeting specific mechanisms of the system to transition off of capitalism, and there's also a lot of out system approaches these days as far as off-grid stuff and share networks, communities taking things into their own hands, like even more than prior, social movements. So there's a lot in development holistically, which makes it kind of complex and overwhelming. But
Well,
and there's
oh, sorry.
Sorry, just one last thing. And there's the whole technical piece of it too, of people doing open source things and developing things technically, the technological development. But yeah, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, I saw something where the Philippines were growing the indoor gardens, that Jacques Fresco was talking about doing with the hydroponics and stuff like that. Yeah, we could start off like with the community and, where we don't have to move things so far that we can actually become. That might be a good way to start getting some of these communities independent of this market system. Because food's everybody's gonna eat, so, maybe somehow we can start getting communities to do these little gardens. I know people's tried the community gardens, but I like the hydroponic gardens. They seem to be cool.
Yeah, I mean, it connects people with nature, gives people something tangible to work on and feel like they're accomplishing something in their reality, as opposed to like always working towards some like long-term future vision, which we need to continue to do. But those tangible, concrete things, lived everyday reality things are important too. But just, I mean, it connects you to community, Patty, like you're saying, and I mean, of course, provides aid and like community networks to people when our systems are failing. There's more poverty than ever, and people are struggling more than ever, and builds our own independent power, like independent of the existing system. Drains the existing system's power, corporate power, but this can all kind of interface too. This stuff all out system activism kind of has to like interface at the same time with the existing system of you know business and the institutions in place. It can't just live in some bubble reality like outside of So it's just interesting to see how that overlaps, like things like co-ops and the different combinatorial, if I can use that annoying word, like type of way this stuff is coming together. But Woody, did you have you had something that I think you were gonna share a quick little something, and you said you needed a minute.
Yeah, sorry, I was finishing some cooking, so I couldn't do it earlier. But yeah, so we had a quite a productive community contributor meeting a little while ago, and one of the things that we were talking about is engagement and activity on the server. We have quite a significant number of people joining the server, but the number of people actively engaging is obviously significantly smaller than that. So we've been discussing different ideas and how we can get people kind of hooked in a way. They come in and they find some level of enjoyment being here, and so they engage in the community. And one of the things that we were talking about was starting to do events on the server. So one of the things that we can do on Discord is that we can do live streams. So we were discussing how using the new events feature on Discord, if you scroll sort of right to the top on the left-hand side, you'll see there's a little button above the welcome section that says 12 events currently. And if you tap on that, you'll see events that are scheduled. So currently what's live now is the open access assembly, and then you've got some German events and so on. And so we were talking about community contributors. So that is people who are actively engaging in the community and are frequently contributing something to the server, that they can create an event and say, at 5 o'clock on Thursday, I'm going to be in the voice chat, hosting whatever it might be, streaming a documentary, live streaming, hosting a discussion on a particular subject or something like that. And so if we can get kind of a set of people doing a rotation of events on the server, then the hope is that that would drive up activity, because people would look forward to, say, coming in here on a Thursday to see what Sean from New Zealand's doing, or what Cliff from Iceland is doing, or whatever. And one of the things that I can do is that I can stream documentaries. So I have loads of documentaries that I think would be fantastic for kind of shared viewing. So I could stream it, and then people can talk in the chat as it's playing, and then we could have a discussion afterwards, kind of like a film evening. So that's one thing that I'm intending on doing. And then Sean, guy from New Zealand, he wants to do some music stuff. And so that's kind of the main thing that we spoke about. One of the other things that was mentioned, it was an idea from, I can't remember his name, someone from Europe, said that we maybe could look at creating a buddy system, where when somebody joins the server, that person could be assigned somebody here that is kind of their point of contact. It's a person for them to go to. That person can help them, get them up to speed on what's happening in the movement, what's going on, and maybe that might help alleviate some of the overwhelm. So when people come on the server, you've got all these different channels, all these things going on, and it's quite overwhelming for people. So if somebody could have that one point of contact that they could private message or chat to, maybe that might help. So that's another thing that we were talking about. I'm trying to think what else. There was quite a lot we covered, but that's the main stuff. I don't know what people's views are on that.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, did you say you're going to be kind of playing a movie, playing some, content, right?
Yeah. So, for example, that documentary that I sent to you the other day, Brandon, that, for example, would be a good thing, I think, to stream. So I could create an event and say 8 o'clock on Friday, I'm going to be streaming that.
I just got company, so I'm gonna be leaving. Y'all have a good day, and maybe next time I can catch the whole thing. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.
See you
Thank
next
you for
time.
coming, Patty.
Right.
Let me save this. Okay, let's go. I found the movie. And we...
I'm gonna go ahead and mute.
Oh man,
Yeah.
why is it
Woody, go
still
ahead.
on?
There we go. I just disconnected her because I think she was struggling working it out.
But yeah, you're gonna be playing some content, right? So yeah, you sent me this really, really cool documentary on the role of play, which is great. And what other things were you thinking about playing?
Yeah, I've got lots of stuff on environment and climate crisis, in particular, sort of wildlife, permaculture, gardening, all sorts of different things. So we can discuss it. I mean, I don't want to be the only person doing it. It would be cool if other people were doing it, but we could have, say, each week or each month, there could be a particular topic. And then I can set my computer up to kind of stream a set of documentaries at a certain time. I mean, I don't even have to attend to it. So if I'm busy, I can just set my computer up to live stream, and I can set a playlist, and it will just play back-to-back documentaries. So that's pretty simple to do. but without looking at my list of documentaries in front of me, which I don't have, I can't quite remember all of what I've got, but I've got loads of different things that I found interesting over the years.
Right on.
And I'm always happy to take suggestions as well. If somebody says to me, "Oh, hey, do this documentary," then I can just download it and stream it.
Yeah, I know the podium function in here has been pretty cool too. If anyone ever has out there listening, just in here, but I know maybe these meetings get published, have a life online at some point. But just that, if someone puts something together, and something communicative that kind of conveys whatever ideas or explores some area of what we're trying to do, in regard to moving towards more sustainable systems in general, just that there's this cool podium function in Discord that you can use, and anyone that comes into the room, people are audience, and they can't. You kind of have basically have control of the mic and can present things, presenters format type thing. So there's different things we want to do in here to engage more people. But sorry about that. But just that content in general, the more content we put out in general, I think people will have more to chew on, and we'll have more of a sense of engagement and reason and things to think about, things to discuss. So just has to be built has to be built back. It just takes a while, I think, but I've definitely been seeing more content, and that I think is the thing we just need to keep focusing on. Is the thing that will build back community and get people to show up and be interested and have something to talk about.
Yeah, and I just remembered another thing we spoke about in the community contributor meeting. We were talking about the importance of creating an active voice chat, because when somebody comes on the server for the first time, the first thing they probably want to do is find somebody to talk to. And a lot of people, I think, when they see that there's no one in the voice chat, because I frequently see people popping into the voice chat, they sit there for a while and then they disappear thinking, well, this server's dead. And so if we can kind of encourage people when you've got some time, even if it's just 10 minutes, an hour, maybe you're busy doing something else, just sit yourself in the chat. And if somebody drops in, have a chat with them, because I think that it tends to create a snowball effect. We can see that here. There was only a few of us, and now we've got quite a few more people in here. And I like to use the analogy of a dance floor, that if nobody's on the dance floor, everyone's too kind of afraid to go out and dance because nobody wants to be the first person to dance. But if the dance floor's got lots of people on it already, then you're more inclined to go out and want to join the party. So it'd be good if people could just populate the voice chat.
That's easy enough.
Yeah.
I'll probably be here 24/7 in front of my computer. Way too much as it is.
Well, that sounds great.
Yes. I don't know if we had really anything else agenda-wise. Cliff usually has a bunch of stuff, updates to add, but is there anything you guys wanted to talk about? Anyone here? What would you guys like to talk about, or anything on your mind that you're thinking about?
I just want to quickly say Cliff did say he's going to come. He messaged me on Telegram just now. Yeah, but he didn't specify when, so I don't know. But I'm sure he's got a lot to say when he gets here.
Well, before then, I could add in a little bit for you, Brandon. We had something.
He's going to be here in a minute.
Can you hear me, mate? Yeah, there's a good thing in the last week. We had somebody pop up here in Edinburgh who's wanting to get some, more events going, because TZM has been pretty quiet here, and it's somebody turned out to be working in sort of the fledgling Scottish space industry.
Andy, I don't know if you can talk or type out what your update is, but please go ahead.
Was Brandon able to hear any of that?
I don't know,
So
but I was.
Oh, yeah.
Brandon, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, could you hear Andy?
no.
Oh. Maybe try leaving and coming back, Brandon or Andy, because I don't think, Brandon, you could hear Andy talking just now.
Did you block him?
Okay, I got it now. Sorry about that. I had you personally muted for some reason, special reason. I have no idea why.
Meetup group at first, because it was pointing to a couple of old links that we had. We had this issue a few years ago with the whole, they have that Meetup 3-for-1 deal on accounts, and somebody moved away, and we were trying to move him over to someone else's account, and we ended up dropping one of two city groups and making one TZM Scotland group, and so one of the links on the UK website is dead now, pointing to what was the Edinburgh group. So that could be checked. I think there was another contact us page that's dead on the UK website, but yeah, it's at least promising. We'll try and get maybe some kind of Z-Day thing or something going on. I don't know if I missed anything about the aborted plans in Ukraine earlier in the meeting. It'd be good to hear what the updates were, if you mind saying.
I'll just quickly say about the website. The website is a complete disaster, and it's partly because it's in David's control, and I need to talk to David. It's also partly because Cliff is planning on completely redoing the community website. I don't know what the ETA for that is at the moment, but the eventual plan would be that once the community website has been refurbished, that the UK content could then be on that website, and so the zeitgeistmovementuk.com website would just redirect to a page on the community site. So that would be kind of the main hub eventually, but it's still being worked on by Cliff and Michael Kubler. But because of the current world situation, Cliff is a bit bogged down at the moment because he's Ukrainian, so that's been a bit difficult.
Yeah, it'll be good when we can actually get that going. Yeah, I hope you can manage to show up.
Trying to remember, Woody, when Z-Day in Ukraine is even scheduled for.
I don't remember the date. Unfortunately, Cliff kind of has all that information, but he did say that if it cannot be done in Ukraine, which is looking more and more likely that that's not going to be possible, then it would probably be moved to Poland. But we have a difficult situation at the moment where I think Cliff said we have about 50 TZM members who reside in Ukraine, and the Ukrainian chapter is one of the more active chapters in the movement. And we don't have an update on how everyone's doing, but I know that some people have escaped to Germany and Poland, and some people have had to join the fights. They've been, conscripted into the military, so we kind of don't know what's going to happen with TZM Ukraine at this point in time, until people kind of get back to us and say whether or not they're safe.
Yeah, I mean, I think I speak for everyone when I say that, our thoughts obviously go out to our friends over there and to everyone in this ridiculous situation. But yeah, thanks, Woody, for that update. Yeah, they have been one of the most more um, consistent and prominent chapters in the movement. And those people over there are really good people. anyway, as far as Z-Day, it might be interesting to talk about that because I know we used to have an annual Z-Day presentation event in March. So I don't know. Trying to remember the kind of around the date that the Ukrainian event was scheduled. I could look it up easily.
I just remembered one of the other things we spoke about in the community contributor meeting. We were talking about the importance of priorities and discussing, what are our values and principles and what are our priorities. So, if somebody says to you now in March, what are you doing? What are you working on? We can turn around and say, well, this month we're working on this, and next month we plan on working on that. And so it would be really good to kind of hammer down some proper, like a list of what we're going to do, a roadmap. Really, I do really believe that the movement needs a roadmap, and so that we can work through that roadmap and kind of tick things off and start being a bit more organized and productive, because it's great being decentralized, but at the moment there is just such a lack of coordinated organization in the movement, and so everyone's off working on their own projects, whether it be local or somebody working on, their thoughts on education, like yourself, Brandon. But we need to work out how we can tie it all together and collectively work on getting this movement sort of back on track, and getting more engagement.
That's what I was saying last time I was here.
Yeah, sometimes you have to beat a dead horse around here. But one of the important things, as Andy mentioned, is the website. That's something that I think Cliff and Michael are definitely prioritizing. So that, I think, should be the main goal, because you need something to put on leaflets. You need to have something that you can point people to. And so unfortunately we don't have a lot of people working on that, so it is slow going. But if anybody has any other ideas of things that we could actively be working on as a movement at the moment, it's because it's great to say, oh, we want a resource-based economy, we want this, we want that, but we need to think smaller. What are our short-term goals that we can tangibly work on now?
Yeah, I think I think we have to continue to reinforce the need to build understanding and awareness in the world. Content communication. I think it would be really good for us to revisit just the basic principles and concepts of the movement as far as content, what kind of content we create. So stuff I've been working on, but yeah, I really think that communication piece and building awareness piece is still the most critical. And but certainly there's a huge conversation to be had as far as what other transitional approaches were affecting in 1 second. And pursuing emergently wherever the opportunity is for it. You know, there's all kinds of routes. The technical open source stuff is pushing revolutionary stuff and is helping to create zero marginal cost production and showing the possibilities of efficiency, algorithmic stuff. Then you have, the political routes, the political mechanisms, the laws, the norms of our society that make certain things legal or illegal. You have to system change. Pretty concretely comes through the legislative political process, and then you have the share networks, the off-grid stuff, the co-ops, the stuff that's trying to obsolete the system and drain power from the system and make the old model obsolete, as it were. But some people take that Bucky Fuller line a little bit too specifically. That it means that we need to literally start like rebuilding everything in society and like get out the hammers. But structural change doesn't always just mean like physically building something. It means like how we arrange power in society, like how we allocate resources in society, like the incentives of society, that our education systems, um, how we organize ourselves, the institutions, whatnot. Um, so anyway, on the role of social movements, to mobilize these ideas and to popularize these ideas and to organize our numbers for when it comes time to like vote something in or to get behind something or to um, withdraw participation, not go to work or boycott something, whatnot. But I'm just kind of personally starting with just the most fundamental principles that kind of comprise this direction and starting there and working on content. But yeah, sorry, there's a huge conversation to be had. We have to talk about this stuff as far as all these different approaches and how they work together and complement each other and how they overlap, because you don't just do one thing, you do many different kind of a range of this stuff. There's the individual development. You have to keep building your own understanding and building your own sanity and that's like a lot in itself. And you know also there's more conversations to be had as far as like post scarcity and what labor looks like in the future, what proper sane incentives look like in the future. Like we're going to need to continue to have people become doctors and educators and people first responders who respond to accidents and people who are sick and like like crazy stuff that happens in society. Like we need those first responders to like firemen and like people that work in transportation. Like there's still going to be a need for labor in the future, in some way, even with an automated society. And how do we incentivize that stuff? So just I'll shut up now, but just that, yeah, we need to keep continuing to make an effort to come together around what we're organizing our numbers towards, what our premises and goals are for this movement. Um, we can't just be on separate. I'm not trying to like preach to the choir here. I know everyone's kind of on this, been feeling the same page, but it's hard. It's just hard to get people to come together without seeming bossy or whatnot. Collaboration, man, it's just it's a lot more rare than you think out there. So I really appreciate those good, honest collaborators that you can just share ideas with and get on page. It's really powerful when you have a team of people working together. So we need to continue to get on page with what we're doing and not just be on separate platforms and social media platforms and just not just be on parallel tracks separate from each other. But that we've been building towards it and working towards it. So process.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to get people together to actually work on something. And so I think that maybe with the events that we create on here, some of the events could be, maybe we want to type up a document on a particular subject that we want to put on the website. And we could say, on Saturday, 8 o'clock, get a bunch of people in here, open a collaborative document, and we just start typing. And working out different ideas of new content to put on the new website when that's created.
Yeah, I love that idea. Actually, I think that'd be really interesting to see that. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, because at the moment, so much of the content creation is falling on just a small number of people. I know that Cliff, he kind of does a lot of stuff. And I feel like if we could get more people involved, then it would make his life a lot easier. But also, it means that it's ideas coming from lots of different places, different cultures, different perspectives, rather than just one or two people.
Yeah, it really is the more the merrier with this stuff.
And I think that's what we're trying to create with the community contributors, and again, if anybody wants to become a community contributor, you're more than welcome to approach us. Either myself, Cliff, Brandon, or any of the other moderators, because we're looking for more. And one of the things that community contributors do is that they are given that role because they have shown an interest in actively participating in the community, helping people, assisting people, and producing content in some way. So if anybody feels that they want to take on a role like that, then you're more than welcome to.
But yeah, I mean, just the decentralized evolution of this movement and how it's become difficult to just collaborate. That's swinging back towards collaboration now, I think, just with the pandemic and the past 2 years kind of compounded it, and people became even more disconnected, from each other than before, and there wasn't physical meetings, and I mean, the pandemic's just had its effects, obviously, on everything, but not to make excuses, but because that kind of decentralized fallout of collaboration, I guess, is inevitable as the evolution of things. But you can have decentralized quote power, but still have people in positions of organization, people who are points of contact, people who are in certain positions by merit, by experience, not just because they're in control of everybody. You can still have organization. Doesn't mean we're without that. So I think that's being built back. And was there anything else anyone wanted to talk about? Kind of completed 1 hour so far here.
I'm just nagging Cliff to get on here, but he's gone AWOL.
What you were just talking about a second ago with producing content, I would totally love to help out. My only thing is I'm so swamped producing content as it is for my existing channel. Do you consider that separate? Or if it's just content in the whole post-scarcity movement, that's cool too.
Oh, I mean, that's totally cool. If you're producing content that's kind of in line with, our values, principles, and sort of train of thought, then that's totally relevant.
Sweet. Yeah, I mean, your values, principles, that's really what shaped my values and principles. I've been definitely using a lot of the work you guys produce here. It's some good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, not everything has to have the TZM branding on it. I'm myself. I'm not actually that attached to the TZM branding. I don't particularly care what we call it, what we brand it. The most important thing is the content, the ideas, and how we share those ideas. So if you've got content, you're more than welcome to post it here and share it. And hopefully it can be shared with more people.
Oh yeah, I will do that.
Yeah, definitely come in here and share it with us, and we can circulate it to our channels. But yeah, I mean, content should be what leads in front, not some logo or some movement name, but what actually the substance of what's being said should lead.
Yeah, exactly. I hate the whole like we live in this capitalistic world and everything has to be a brand type thing. But yeah, that's just kind of like what we're dealt.
One of my favorite YouTube channels is a channel called Our Changing Climate, and he produces some really high quality stuff. And if you watch his stuff and you sort of close your eyes and pretend it's coming from the TZM, it's basically the same stuff. And so I like to share and post his videos when I can, when he puts new stuff out, because I think that even though I don't even know if he's familiar with TZM, maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but he's producing content that is just so in line with our sort of train of thought. And there's loads of content creators out there producing stuff to a very high level, and that's part of what I want to do with doing live streams on the server, is not just doing documentaries but also doing streams of these YouTube channels that I am familiar with, because the content is already out there in many cases.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there if you know where to look.
He did a really good one on capitalism, actually. He mostly focuses on climate, but he did a video on capitalism because obviously, I mean, the climate is being destroyed by capitalism. So it's, let me see if I can find it. I'll share it in the international discussion. One of the difficult issues I think we have is that people are just trying to survive. And when people are just focused on trying to survive, they don't have time to engage in social movements. I know that, for example, here in the UK, there's a lot of activists that, where previously they were focused on the climate, they're now focused on just saving the NHS in this country because our government's actively trying to dismantle our healthcare system. And so that tends to then get priority over people's attention because it's arguably, in the immediate term, more important to people because we need our healthcare. And so the bigger issues, like what we talk about, aren't really getting as much attention because people are so focused on all of the smaller issues that are being created by neoliberal capitalism.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. At least you don't have the same political climate we have with certain people who shall not be named.
Well, I don't know how much you follow UK politics, but it's practically the same at this point.
Rough.
Yeah, I mean, we've got two main parties, the Conservatives and Labour, and basically Labour have been working hard to get rid of all of the socialist candidates, all of the socialist people in the Labour Party, and the Labour Party has been shifting more right or centre right, and so now we have this thing in England where we have an extreme right and a centre right party, and that's your choices, and it basically, I think the plan is over time is that if they can get Labour Party to creep further right, then when you have the Conservatives in power who are extreme right, then what Labour's proposing on the right is, because it's less right, it appears to be left, and so ideas that were previously considered very right wing, totalitarian, dystopian even, are now considered quite liberal left ideas. And something like universal healthcare is just considered communism. And that's too far to the left, so we can't possibly even consider that.
Yeah, there was a massive propaganda campaign in the US, especially in the 70s or so, that painted socialism as the devil, worse than communism. So if you get anyone like Bernie Sanders or like someone trying to push any sort of policy that's actually helpful for the common person, it immediately gets shot down. It's kind of a nightmare of misinformation we have to undo and unravel.
I know, and you've got even activists and these types of movements too that willingly call themselves socialists and communists, and it's not like we think of it as a bad word or taboo in these circles by any means. I mean, it's come to be associated with collective ownership over the means of society, of ecological respects, and just unleashing the creative collective potential of things, and not having just labor rights and stuff. So, but I mean, people willingly call them. I mean, themselves this. I mean, you have Bernie Sanders self-ascribed the term democratic socialist, and this is just the dilemma though, because I mean, for so many people, like the conceptual simplicity. I cannot talk today. The conceptual simplicity of it, of the socialist label or whatnot, was made it comprehensive. Made it easy for people to understand the concepts, maybe. But they kind of, some people just fail to evolve and see those concepts as just kind of eternal and universal and kind of first principle concepts for society, like working together, sustainability, like collective democratic control over the means of society. Like this is basic first principle. I mean, society, how to organize a society, like stuff. It's nothing doesn't deserve the title like communism or socialism. But again, like people easily can kind of come to understand things when they like simplify it and caricaturize it. Just the issue is when people fail to evolve past those labels.
Yeah.
You have a really good voice, Nathan, like for delivering content. So I definitely got to like check out your stuff. And we should do like a radio, like a content show on here or something. I feel like this almost sounded like a radio show at times. I know your mic must be really good, but just people always have really good things to add in here.
Yeah, I feel like I'm really bad with finding the right words a lot of the times. But the good thing about doing content, I feel like it makes me better. Just the more I do it, the smoother I get when it comes to speaking and things like that.
Yep. Got to be willing to kind of go through a developmental thing about it. But yeah, I mean, there's that authenticity too. That you're at least you're not just speaking just to speak, which there's a lot of that out there. At least you're actually thinking through what you're saying, which I think people will appreciate, and follow you for.
Yeah, that's my current bottleneck is that I have a pretty clean workflow now that, kind of I can post to my blog and then it gets automatically posted with Zapier to various locations and there's a podcast and all that. But the bottleneck is just writing the content. I have to spend some time doing research and writing it all out and sort of collecting my thoughts. And so it's hard to get in stuff more than, I've been doing about once a month, and that's a bit too slow.
Yeah, it's I'm sure you'll get better and better as time goes on.
Yeah, it's getting easier for sure. And I'm sure I'll get help eventually.
Was I gonna say?
That's something I can definitely attest to.
Hey, Adam.
Hey. Hey.
Yeah, I really
Like,
enjoy your.
Thanks.
I was
Thanks.
just going to say.
I've been a little nervous. I've been a little shy. I've just been lurking here for the past was it hour or so?
I was just going to say I've checked out some of your content, Adam, and I think it's really good. I quite enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, it's time, I'm a full-time worker, and so it's a bit hit and miss, finding time to make content, and especially in the early days when I used to basically script I would write like long scripts for like all like my videos and stuff like that. But now I've sort of like transitioned into a more like practical stuff, and that's not really as scripted. And quite frankly, the videos are sort of easier to make. So yeah.
I think the difficulty for me is always kind of getting your ideas down in such a way that you're not just rambling, and that you're kind of talking in a coherent way that people could understand. And then it's kind of checking your sources as well. So you've got to do so much research when you're talking about these subjects to make sure that you're getting it right, that I kind of never get past that stage. I never actually get to the point where I'm producing content because I get so overwhelmed and bogged down in the research side of things. And then I'm really bad at note taking as well. So I kind of learn all this stuff and then I don't note it down properly. And then, yeah, not too good for producing content.
Yeah, I feel you 100% there. I've definitely had to make sacrifices in that regard because I'm usually I'm kind of a perfectionist, which is good and bad, but I really want to make sure that my work meets the highest of standards. But if you operate on that way, then you never produce anything. So I've definitely had to be like, all right. For example, with citations, I I was taught never cite Wikipedia. Anyone can change those articles, and so I'm trying to look up the good citations and references for everything I say. But to do that well, like to do it for a research paper, as I've historically done, it takes a while. It can take 6 months to sort of make sure you have a good set of references, and that's just way too long. So you got to make sacrifices for sure.
One of the things you can do with Wikipedia is just click on the sources. That when you go to like a Wikipedia article, go to the sources and then cite that. So you're not citing Wikipedia, you're citing the original source that someone used to put that information on Wikipedia in the first place. And then you kind of bypass the whole, oh, he's using Wikipedia thing.
Yeah, I do that a lot as well. I mean, especially because I want to check the source of it. At the very minimum, I check the source of anything I read on Wikipedia to make sure that it's still valid. Because there's still a lot of stuff on there that's just outdated or not even really attesting to what they're citing.
There's so much stuff missing from Wikipedia as well. The amount of things I've looked up on Wikipedia, and there's like barely a paragraph. And I'm thinking, well, are you telling me that humanity knows nothing about this? It's like, well, no, there's loads of books on the subject, but no one's gone, read the books, and then put the stuff online. And this is where I get frustrated that less and less people are reading books because so I was watching a really interesting YouTube video a few weeks ago on one of the issues that they're having around New Delhi in India with the farming. Basically, the land's becoming desertified. So within the next 20 years or so, it's basically just going to be a barren desert if they keep doing what they're doing. Plus, people are dying from all sorts of diseases and things because of the chemicals that are being used, and so on and so on. But that's something for another day. But anyway, when I was reading the comments on this YouTube video, someone said, "Oh, if you're interested in this subject, check out this book." And then somebody else responded with, "Why would I read a book?" And then somebody else was like, "Oh, I don't read books anymore because I can just look everything up online. I can just Google it." And there were all these people basically just tearing into anybody that says that they read books. And I'm just thinking, what the fuck is this? Is what we've become now? That it's kind of like a thing that's frowned upon to read books now. Because hey, we have the internet, we can look anything up on the internet. But the thing is, the internet, it's impossible to find anything if it's even on the internet in the first place, because search engines with their algorithms bury things, hide things. If I search for something, all I get is top 10 best, and it's just these bullshit articles where whoever's posted them's done no research. They're just using search engine optimization, so they get bumped to the top of the search results. And actually now I do most of my searches, I have to append most of my searches with Reddit, because Reddit has a lot more of what I'm looking for on it than Google or other places. And it astonishes me when you go into a library and go to like where the old books are and just open up an old book and look at the content of that book. Like half of that shit isn't online, because there is no one going around and scanning the pages of every book and putting it online.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of issues. I love books. I read books all the time, especially book summaries lately, because books take a while to read. But there's these apps called Blinkist, another one called Uptime, which gives you their curated summaries for books, which I found really, really helpful. It helps me get through dozens more books than I would normally be able to. Of course, it's not as perfect as reading the whole book, but if you can get the main essence of the idea, that helps.
Something I do, since I have a really bad visual impairment, reading books is a bit more difficult for me. So what I usually do sometimes, especially when I'm at work, is I listen to audiobooks. Um, a audiobook I actually listened to almost exclusively at work was Kropotkin's Mutual Aid, and I actually thought that you know it was actually quite an enjoyable listen.
Yeah, audiobooks are great for that, because you can put it on and listen to it while you're doing other things. I probably should get into audiobooks. It would save me a lot of time.
But yeah, but going back to the whole Wikipedia thing, I think Wikipedia is okay if you want to show something conceptually, um, like on a surface level. A lot of my content, I tend to, or at least recently, I tend to it to because research is a lot of work, as some of you have stated. Um, I tend to explain something. I tend to prefer to explain something conceptually, to sort of give the general idea of something, and then if there's something specific I want to delve into, then I sort of hone in on that.
Yeah, it's important to get to the point with things and be conceptual and concise. And I think people will come to appreciate that. There's too many like 2 hour, 3 hour podcasts out there. People just need to get just a good conceptual foundation for things, for good critically thinking, reasoning skills, for like what holistic structural like worldviews mean, like how to identify systemic consequences, and just the whole train of thought that we talked about. But I was going to say something about the citations. Sorry, I dropped out there for a second. But the citations thing that you're saying, that it's a lot to have to kind of cite who you've been studying and whatnot. But I mean, do you have to do that? Can't you just kind of try to put things into your own words? I guess that, I mean, of course, it takes longer to do that, and that's that trade-off that you have to sacrifice.
Oh
Sitting
no, it's
down.
not about me not putting it in the right words. It's about me providing references for the claims that I'm making. So if I
Yeah,
say that the surface of the sun is 6,000 Kelvin, no one's going to just believe me.
I see. So more like scientific stuff,
Yeah.
scientific research, scientific findings about like climate and references. I see.
Yeah, I mean, especially when it comes to economics, when I'm talking about, a world where we can produce enough for everyone, that this concept of scarcity is sort of archaic and wrong. Uh, I want to provide sources for that kind of information because most people aren't going to take it from me. Unfortunately, there's not that much out there. I mean, if you go right now and look at the Wikipedia article for scarcity, it's just heavily slanted towards scarcity is real. There is a limited amount of goods that can be produced. Every consumer has limitless wants, and that's the way the world is. But I mean, of course, it's ridiculous. The average consumer doesn't have limitless wants. There is quite limited in what people want. You know, give them a house, give them a car, give them healthcare, a cell phone, a TV, they're good to go.
Well, that's the thing with advertising, is it's current always bombarding us with all of these things that we're told we need to have, and it kind of embeds that idea in our head of, oh, when I buy that new thing, I will feel better, or that will make my life easier, or that will make my life better. I mean, advertisements used to, when they were advertising a product, it was purely about the function of the product. If you wear these shoes, they're sturdy, they're strong. You'll be able to wear them to get to work. That's, whatever. They'll just tell you what the function of them are. But now it's like, if you look at like a Nike advert or something, it's just a bunch of people dancing, or a bunch of people doing workouts, with a bunch of like B-roll footage of the shoes or something, and it's like, doesn't why do I need those?
It's all
You
about
told me
status.
that,
It's all about status symbols.
Exactly, it's all about status, but that's not natural. We are not born. We don't come out of the womb, thinking, oh, well, I need to get some Nikes, or I need to, get some Adidas stuff on, or whatever. We're not like naturally inclined to be that way. We're conditioned, and actually there's a really fantastic documentary series that talks about this, which I would love to stream on here at some point. It's by Adam Curtis. I don't know if you're familiar with Adam Curtis, but he did the documentary Hypernormalization, and it I'm just Adam Curtis. I'm just reminding myself what it's called now. It's called Century of Self, and one of the things that he talks about in that documentary, is we how a lot of Freud's ideas were kind of taken, and used in peacetime, because in the war you have all this propaganda, and propaganda got a bad reputation after World War II. So then they thought, well, how can we use propaganda in peacetime? And then they thought, well, because propaganda's got a bit of a bad name, let's rename it. And they renamed propaganda to PR, public relations. And so when you think that every corporation has a PR department, every corporation has a propaganda department, including governments. And so we've got all this propaganda constantly being pumped on our screens. YouTube now has become awful, just advert after advert. I mean, obviously I block them, but in times on devices where I can't, it's just awful. And it is just pure propaganda. It's conditioning. The adverts are designed in such a way that they appeal to our baser instincts, like, for example, when you're in a shop and they're blasting music, the music, and the sensory overload that you experience in a shop, because there's all this stuff, you've got to make all these decisions. By the time you get to the checkout, you're so worn down and exhausted. Oh, there's a candy bar. Oh, there's a drink. There's all this stuff conveniently placed by the tills, that because your resolve has been worn down, you're no longer able to really think logically about what you're doing and why the fuck am I here. Unless you go in with a list, you don't even remember why the hell you're there. And that's what it's all about. The whole society is set up in such a way that it has conditioned us into thinking that this is normal, this is the way it is. And I find it really difficult to try and talk to people that actually this isn't our human nature. This is not the way we're supposed to be.
And some of the ads, some of the worst offenders are actually these ads, particularly online, or even on like the start of YouTube videos, that basically appeal to people's desperation. I don't know if you've seen that ad where like it's some guy talking about um, oh, you could be making like 100k, 500k or something like that from like selling your knowledge or something like that. But it's ads, and like there was this ad years ago about some guy basically like flexing his mansion, and like he was walking around and saying like, oh, you could make so much money from investing like this way or that way. And really that's just appealing to, yeah, as I said, it's appealing to people's, like need for, for like a comfortable life, and it's a lot of it's a lot of them are scams, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, and oh hey, Millennial, were you gonna?
Hi. How are you?
Hey,
Yeah. Yeah. How is everyone? Yeah. Wait. What were you going to say?
just about scarcities. I was just gonna mention real quick that I mean there are real scarcities in the world as far as like rare earth metals and like certain elements and like things that are really hard to extract. And of course, there are scarcities as far as arable land and fresh water and biodiversity. A lot of the things that we've fucked up from capitalism, but subsistence scarcity is total. It's just nonsense. And we have a technical, the technical. I mean, technically, we're beyond the scarcity epoch of economics, and I mean, competition is unnecessary, and that's what makes this whole thing such a human rights violation. That potential is held back, but that goes on a whole nother question. But yeah, just what's up with you, millennial? What's
Hi. Yes. So, yeah. Well, um, not a bunch, but I've been thinking about a number of things, and I've been listening carefully to some interesting things. So, um, yeah. No, I just wanted to mention that. I mean, I agree, largely with the issues that have been discussed in relation to socioeconomics, and also I think it's important to note that. Um, the environment that we have, there's propaganda from everywhere because everything is fakery. We live in an artificial. I mean, even when you talk about applying for a job, that's total fakery because you're trying to present, you're in this market and social environment. Even when you dress up, you present a false image and you speak, a false, you know, a false witness, and you're in this an environment wherein you're constantly encouraged to believe lies and to speak lies or deception. So we live in a world of a world of basically a world of fabrication where we just everyone participates in fabricating things in order to get what they want, right, or what they believe that they need, what they want, or what they think they want, or what will make them happy, or to present a false sense of security and stability in life, you know. And so that goes partly into social status, right? Well, largely into social status, I would say. So I think, and there's conditioning. The conditioning aspect appears there too. So and so, I mean, even if you'll talk about the news, like if you listen to the news, like the metaverse, right? When they bring up topics, every so often you'll get an idea, right? Um, about something, right? Whether it be, let's say, global cooling, or ideas like deep state, or these terms are thrown around, and they present a very particular contrived narrative, in order to get people to buy into a hype, and to basically give a sense of it's really designed to take advantage of society, right? And to give people a false sense of hope and a false sense of stability in how things, really are, as opposed to what they could be. So it goes beyond just advertisements. It's all throughout news about corporation products, consumer products. It's everywhere. We're drowning in it. And this is why society can't do great things anymore, because as in the words of Daniel Schmachtenberger, we've lost the ability to make sense. Sense making has been um, absolved. You know, uh, and if you're familiar with Daniel Schmachtenberger, well, if you're not familiar with Daniel Schmachtenberger and especially his discussions about sense making, you probably very well should be. So. Um, yeah, so there's that. He really sums it up quite well in terms of the issue with modern civilization. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to mention that well, of course, it's just my opinion, but or my conception of things. But I think at this point, we want to be uh, we want to be doing things that are making us maximally productive, optimally productive, right? And as you know, as a group, as a team. And I think there are a number of key critical things to focus on. But one of the more important things, and I think this is what which is what I think Peter Joseph, which is what Peter Joseph has been getting at, is really being able to organize effectively. And I think this is I think I think he's really on the right track. I like where his thinking is, and you should listen to his Revolution Now podcast that he does. I think at least once a month, or a few times a month, because he really makes a very good point on what should be happening right now. And um, I understand that he is he really is a technical person. He's really a radical thinker. He's a very technical, radical sort of thinker, and he really gets at the problem that we have. And what we have is an incentivization problem ultimately, and this problem permeates through every group. Not just TZM, but it's everywhere. I see the problem in, like, if you go to a game B server, the same issues arise. Even if you go to school, like clubs, it's the same issue everywhere. There's an incentivization problem within many parts of society, where people aren't able to properly engage other people and to be productive. So, I mean, so your concerns are, have a lot of causality behind them, let's say, in terms of not being able to make progress. This is, at least from what I've seen, it's a ubiquitous problem. It's everywhere. And there are a few things. One of the things which I think is important is that is really time. And winning back time. It's getting people to win back their time, and getting time from other people, and also as far as getting back time from yourself, because your time is being used and taken, and it's being monetized in and your attention is being monetized. I mean, attention is largely connected to time, because when you're attentive to something, you're expending time, and that is what and that accumulates, with each person, each consumer, and that's what the companies are really after. These corporate big monopolies are really after. So in order to get back time, I was thinking of, I've been going on a lot about trying to trying to give people some ways to derive some sort of substantial return or perceived income, um, some sort of um, you might call uh, some sort of auxiliary compensation, not necessarily through the forms of money, although it could be. That's one, but also through some sort of service offered, that that or something that we can offer that replaces the real world, or and so that is what I think our main goals. At least one of our main goals should be, and we can get to work on it. Um, one of the things I've considered is gaming for value, right? So the idea of play to earn types of things, which could involve both not just real money but also cryptocurrency and NFT, in addition to U.S. Dollars, if you will, or whatever currency, dollar currency a country uses, as a sort of a passive residual form of income. And the other thing, though, that I like about it is, so if there's a lot of things like this emerging in Web 3.0, and I think it could be very useful because again, a lot of the things that are done online demand a lot of people's increasingly demand more and more attention and time, and that time is you know some once the time is gone, it's you can't go back into the past, right? So it's very important that what you do, from on a regular day-to-day basis, that is on these on these devices, on these platforms, has some sort of return that comes back to you, right? Because whenever you type something on, right, express an opinion or something like that, or put in information online, that has value, right? So it's both the time and the effort that you're doing that has value, and we take it for granted because we've been conditioned not to really think, about how the value of our time, right, online, and the value of the data that we do online. And Andrew Yang spoke, made a very good point about this. And I think companies, at least gaming companies, are now responding because they realize that. I suspect that what's going on is that they realize that they're demanding more and more and more, and they will not be able to do that without compensating people in some substantial way. So there's a lot of
Sorry.
things.
It's getting a bit late over here. I'm going to need
Okay,
to head out. So it's been a good meeting, guys. Maybe see you another time. Take care. Bye.
All right, nice hearing from you.
Thank you, Adam. Nice to see you.
Yes. So that's something I think we really that should be a high priority ultimately, because if we can do that, then we'll be able to, get a lot more engagement, I think, from people. Because right now the opposite is happening. Like, over time we're losing engagement. So we need to do something, very quickly to sort of get it back.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I've been stressing for a while, I engaged a few months ago, as you all probably remember, and then I came back after a bit of a break. But one of the things that I was emphasizing before, and I still think is really important, is that a lot of people in this movement, a lot of people, these projects, they're all about pushing some future civilization, future community. Not everyone's as advanced as like, I want to do robots and have them do all the work for us, but even just like, you look at Oravana project or something like that, where they're like designing the entire reshaping of society. That's so far in the future for a lot of people, but I think there's so much we can gain right now in the current system if we just got as many people that wanted to get together, buy a giant multifamily home, and just hunker down together and really focus on what we can do to expand our reach, to reach all of our goals, in a nutshell. So I think there would be, it is worth thinking about how we can get people, even in just this server alone. I bet there are probably dozens of people that are flexible and moving, can move pretty much anywhere, who work from home because of the pandemic and stuff, and could join a house. And think about how productive that would be if everybody was just sort of on the same page and working towards the same goal. Imagine you had a clone of yourself, 10 clones of yourself, all working towards the same goal.
Yeah, but why don't people do that, do you think? Can you explain why aren't people doing that if it seems so optimistic? I mean, have they not been informed about, year after year about the possibilities and these types of movements?
Well, I don't think a lot of people think about that kind of stuff on short term. I think if more people were made aware of that, there is possibility for huge growth in the movement in right now, just not building our own community that's completely off the grid, but just like kind of living in the system and having people pool money and, can invest in some crypto or whatever. I don't think a lot of people know about that as an option.
I mean, really, you don't think that? I mean, you don't think people have thought about trying to get their freedom back? When they're
But it's not enough to think about it. You have to actually have a plan of action.
Right, but why don't they have a plan of action?
Well, not enough people are the type of people that make plans. I think it's kind of assumed that every individual voter is somebody who, makes a plan, has a plan of action, goes all the way to the end and meets it. But a lot of people are not like that. So I think there are a few people who have the drive and the overall leadership ability to see that through and like actually bring people together, like buy the house or like rent the house, get all these applications. You have to set up like rental agreements with everybody who's living there. There's got to be things in place to deal with disagreements and disputes. There's a lot that needs to be done to get that to happen.
Right. But let's think about it this way, though. They're working. A lot of these people are working at these full-time jobs, right? So they could do this work, right? But do you think these types of things are things that they're incapable, that people would be, instructions are things that people would be incapable of doing? It's if they had some enough incentive to do them.
Wait, instructions?
Yeah. Yeah, these types of organizational tasks, even just a few, even just a fraction, even just a chunk of them.
Well, I'm less focused on tasks and actually the benefits you can gain from
that are actually done in a sense, right? If you think about all the aspects of the parts of society that people, I mean, everything from construction to supply chain, there's so much work like this being done, right? If you think about it, it's just that the work is being done for corporate purposes. It's not being done at a grassroots sort of uh, open source end, right? Or right?
I mean, yeah, I guess I was talking a bit more low level, but
we've created lots of. I mean, we look at 2020. It's the 2020s. There's been so much work put in from countless people to develop the society that we have and the advanced technologies that we have, right? So, on some level, wouldn't you say that work potential already exists?
I'm not sure we're talking about the same concept.
I think we're. Well, I think we actually are. I suspect that we are, or eventually we'll find out that we are. But
all I was saying was that a lot of groups and ideas that people have are really far in the future, and I think that there is a need for that, but there's also stuff we can do right now. In particular, even just bringing people together physically, literally together. That creates such a closer and stronger bond than working together even every day remotely.
And can you name me one of those, like one or two of those things in terms of for getting people together?
Things in terms of getting people together? You mean benefits?
Like an example.
An example of things that we could do to get people together. Like one or two. Let's name one or two of them.
Well, I'm talking about physically bringing people together under the same roof.
Okay, so, physically bringing together. And how would we do that? Do you have any idea, like just very briefly in a sentence, an idea of what that might be?
Yeah, free food and drinks.
Oh yes, so that's a different angle. You were asking how, as in somebody needs to organize where the rental place is, or are you talking about how in terms of how to incentivize people, as what you were just saying?
like, I'll just jump in here real quick.
Yeah,
Just as far as,
how
can
would
I,
you? Yeah, so just the instructional aspects of it.
yeah, can I jump in real quick? Can you guys hear me?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Put my mask on here. No, I mean just that. I mean the means of society, basically, is what you're talking about, millennial.
Yeah.
As far as like, how society functions, all that we want to do to create a more sustainable functioning, society already is kind of in operation in a sense right now.
Yeah.
Only it goes towards like,
Yes.
corporate interests and the wrong
Exactly.
things,
Like
unsustainable
all.
things, harmful things.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Is that right?
All that Nathan, all that he's talking about, that you're talking about, all those instruction steps, that's routine. There are plenty of C-suite executives, endless. Go to any top, any financial. If they were paid enough, you pay them enough money, 6 figures, and say this is what you have to do, they'll do it. And more, they'll, I mean, again, we build buildings, all the skyscrapers, all the time. That work potential is there. But the problem is that we don't have the incentive to direct it towards a certain source. The source it's being directed towards are big corporations, ultimately large corporations, and banks
Yeah.
and whatever. But it's not being directed to a grassroots level, in an open source, setting or setup or environment. Okay, is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So that's what I'm saying. So the key is that's why I said earlier, incentivization. How do we get people's work and time on our side, and how do we free it up so that they can.
The difficult thing is you don't want people only doing something because they're getting paid, and you can run into an issue where somebody takes on a role and they're getting, as you put it, incentivized, whether that be financially or something, whatever else, and then that person can end up becoming lazy in that role and not really doing the best job possible because they're getting paid. So, and the problem is that we can't really offer. In sort of the traditional sense of incentives in capitalism, basically money. We can't offer a lot of money. We don't have a lot of money, and so we if we could afford to pay anybody, it wouldn't be a lot, and so it really wouldn't be a very good incentive.
Right.
We need people who are passionate about these things, that want to do these things.
Yes, and so this is good that you brought that up, and this very point that you're discussing was addressed in Peter Joseph's what is it? Reflections, right? I'm thinking, particularly, I'm thinking of the one on the island. Where the woman asks, or where the guy asks, how do people stay motivated, right? How are they? Right? How are they able to do all this high level work, on a regular on a regular basis, and um, so I think one of the things that to note is that a lot of people, again, the reason why things people do, the reason why quality sort of doesn't come through, is precisely, as you mentioned, is precisely because of the economic system that people are sort of entrained into, where they're sort of they're sort of just objects, tools in a system, and so they don't feel any real connection, right? But the woman there asks, would you, in the movie, she says, I'm trying to remember, how do people, yeah, he asks, how do people get out of the bed in the morning, and then she says, does someone have to pay you to, to take care of your family, right? Or to do certain things around your house, right? And that was a response. And I think the meaning behind that, the message was behind that, is that people are incentivized when they feel that people are motivated to do a very good work when they feel that the work that they do is enhancing the environment around them, right? Is actually enhancing their own personal environment. Whereas in corporate environments, you don't have that personalization effect, right? So you don't feel any incentive to continue on with to put your best to put your best work, because you're not because you're not really there for your simply for your best work, right? You're there to ultimately to get the money at the end of the day, right? But so in a different work setting, where those things become apparent as part of the process, and of course, remember, it's voluntary, right? The people were not paid; they are volunteered to do good work. So in that sort of setting, irrespective of whether they are paid or not, you see, um, they they have the right incentivization structure working for them to really focus on quality. So so I think there's an answer to that in interreflections. Um, but yeah, no, I think that is that is an issue. How now the issue is, and I think this goes back to ultimately to the question, the question of socialism. Uh, how do you get high level labor without a material compensation, direct material compensation for that labor? How do you do that? How do you extract that? That's always been a question. But what my point was in the beginning is that, well, what can we do, right? What can we do here? Well, what I was saying is, what we can do is we can offer services that sort of mirror the types, or offer the same types of things that people would pay for, right? Like this is my whole point. Remember, if you can remember, I was having the education sessions. The whole idea behind that, the key idea behind that, was precisely to get people to get them engaged and to get them interested in the movement, because they would feel that they're getting something that actually has monetary value, and a monetary equivalent. Like, by me hosting the sessions, I'm giving them the monetarily equivalent, right? So it's almost like I'm, in a sense, paying them, because I'm giving this something, and I'm doing it for free, of course, right? I give them the same exact things that they'd learn in school. And I do it all for free, So that was my. Now I don't know how successful it is precisely, how accurately how successful that would be judged, but it's sort of the idea. Does that make sense?
I mean, I've had a conversation with you before, Millennial, about this, so I kind of think I get a little bit of where you're coming from, where you're talking about using the platform to host certain resources or services that people would want to engage with and potentially pay for, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The difficult thing with that is that as soon as you start getting into like services and money and stuff like that, things can potentially get quite corrupted, and it's quite difficult to avoid. It's also that there are already a lot of really professional services out there, like Skillshare and Curiosity Stream and other things like that kind of already offer a lot of what we could potentially offer, but in much higher quality. I don't know if somebody would want to pay to come on some random Discord server to hear what some random guy has got to say, and to kind of sell.
I mean, they don't have to
so
pay.
to speak,
Again,
would be quite
they don't have to
difficult.
pay anything. It's for often for free. It's a
So
free.
You're talking about donations then?
No. Well, I mean, if they donate, that's great. But I'm talking about literally a server for free. Like, I'm not looking for money. I'm not looking for money. Just right. Does that make sense? So that's the
Okay,
thing.
so then the confusion is because you're talking about incentives. So
Yeah.
are you talking about the incentive to engage in the community would be that, oh, if I engage with this community, I can learn things?
Yes, I can. Yes, the incentive is I can gain all the things that society, whatever, tells us that we have to do, and also that we have to pay for. I can get here through TZM. I can get equivalents. Anything you are. I mean,
so for
ideally,
an example would be like Khan Academy then.
yes.
Okay, but then I could just say to people, go to Khan Academy, because that service is, well, what specifically can we
Right,
offer?
exactly.
Because if I was to say to you, "Oh, come to my course. I'm on Saturday. I'm going to do a course on gardening or whatever." Like, how do you know, like, whether I'm worth listening to?
Right, exactly. And that's the same with Khan Academy. How do you know the people with Khan Academy are worth listening to? On Khan Academy, how do you know they're worth listening to?
Well, the
How
guy
would you
that
answer it?
the guy that created Khan Academy does have credentials, which obviously the system looks for, but
Okay, so
also
credentials, yeah.
he has obviously built a reputation,
Right.
but then creating that reputation is a difficult thing to do, and
Certainly,
it's
yeah.
also difficult to invest the time into creating that reputation when we've obviously got other life issues to concern ourselves with.
Exactly. Yes, that is correct. And that is one of the which so of course that's the thing. So finding the people who can do that, that is the difficult thing, because how can we? That goes back to that question. So it's not only the people we're trying to get who have the issue. It's the people who are running, who are in TZM, the TZM members. We have that issue. That's what I'm saying. What we need to do, my main point was, what we need to do is we need to figure out how we can offer TZM members who run things themselves some sort of form of residual, creative forms of residual income, so that they can feel, they too have to feel like that they have, that they're in a place where they can spend the time to actually help people and bring members in at scale in many important dynamic ways, right? Systemic ways. Does that make sense? And now I don't have any good ideas for it, but that was the whole point of me coming up with the gaming for value thing, because I'm recognizing that it is a problem even here now with TZM people, hosts, people who run things in TZM. We have the same problem that all these other people have, which is that we have the difficulty of trying to disconnect ourselves and free up our time. We need to win back our time. They also need to win back their time, but how can we, do you see what I'm getting here?
I can see where you're going to some extent, but I think that we kind of are already trying to address this in that kind of what I said earlier on, with getting more people when they are free to come on the server and do like live sessions, similar to what you've done with your education sessions and stuff like that. That's something that I think that there is a desire for that sort of thing.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, but I think that would generate a sort of, as you would put it, incentive to sort of come on the server.
Yes.
So I think kind of we've already kind of covered that, unless there's more to it that I'm missing.
I think,
but
there might be a little bit more to it than that. I mean, for one thing, it's difficult to do something like that, because it's difficult to find people and to get people's attention. But of course, that's what my help wanted was. My help, my post and help wanted, was to do precisely that, to get the attention of people who are in a position to help certain services and stuff like that. But it was just for TZM engineers. But of course, in light of our recent conversations, I'm planning to expand this to things like TZM site monitor, physical site monitor. I just have to write up a little thing for that. Well, no, but
I was going to suggest that why don't you draw up a proposal, or like actually write a document or something outlining your ideas, because one of the things that I would like to see us do going forward is not only doing live streams for the sake of entertainment, in the case of like documentaries and things, but also having sessions where people can come in and actively contribute to the creation of content. Whether that be us doing an informal podcast, similar to what effectively we're doing it now. This conversation could be packaged as content. But and I've lost my thread now. But
I mean, if you're interested in actually, because I mean, the proposal, I'm assuming you would be looking at it somewhere, but whoever is looking hopefully will take action and find. I think because ultimately what we need is the people who can, So if I write a list of things and say, okay, these are certain things we can do, then someone obviously, whether it be me. I don't know. I might be actually doing other things, probably trying to get streams on here, but hopefully someone can go out and find those people, connect the service to the person, or or the ideas for the stream to the people who are in a position to do that particular thing, and and get the people on here. So yeah.
I think, well, one of the things that I would like to see done at some point in the near future is getting together with a collaborative document and drawing up some like proposals, like getting our ideas actually down on paper. And then once we've kind of got a bunch of our ideas on paper, then we can order those ideas as priorities, as a kind of a to-do list.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, yes, definitely.
So I mean, we've got we get
a lot of ideas. Again, there are a lot of ideas, but the problem, often what happens with proposals is that stuff doesn't get done because people don't actually reach out to. Like the first step to carrying for the proposal to working out is to actually get the person. You actually have to communicate and say, "Hey, can you do this?" And can we agree to this? Because if we can't do that, then we're back to the beginning.
Yeah, but I mean, if we had a solid sort of roadmap of ideas and things that we want to get done, and when somebody comes into the movement and goes, "Hey guys, what can I do?" we just give them the roadmap and say, "Here's our roadmap. This is what we're working on now. Please help us."
Yeah, of course. Yes, of
Because
course.
at the moment we don't really have, if somebody new comes in here, I could say what I'm doing, you could say what you're doing, Brandon could say what he's doing, but that person won't really know where he slots in.
That's right. That's exactly correct. So that would be something that we definitely can. I mean, what you could, again, that would be a collaborative effort, because that's what I was doing with Brandon for the education thing. It could just be like that, where you could start up something and then I say, okay, here's an addendum to the document, and we could just sort of have a growing document. And as long as we're both working on it, we'll both know what's on it, so it will be, it will be constantly intact. so
Yeah, and I mean, can you guys hear me? Okay.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it just also like comes back to, well, just yeah. I mean, those collaborative documents are interesting. I mean, like what he said a little while ago, like a little meeting between all of us just to go over. I mean, even if it was something fresh that we didn't, like I don't know, just some concept that we wanted to explore together, and we could probably hammer something out pretty quick, actually, between just a few people, just shooting ideas
Yeah.
back and forth. Man, just yeah.
Yeah, what
Yeah,
I'll do is I'll see if I can get to work on something, just from some of the main critical things that I have, and I'll sort of, I don't know what sort of channel do you look at for posts? Like if I post a document, where will you?
Well, just whatever category it belongs in. I mean, I put that education thing in the education channel, but
Yeah, but this is like a general one. It's like TZM agenda or something like that. Where would I put that?
If it's related to TZM, then just put it in TZM general.
Okay, so okay. So that's what I'll do. I'll put them in. I'll put stuff that I have along the lines of a agenda, or sort of a out a whatever you want to say, call it a plan for TZM, and I'll put it in TZM general, and you can take a look. I'll see, I'll see,
yeah,
and then
totally.
we'll both work on it. We can work on it together, and as long as we're constantly working on it, we'll know what it is. So whenever comes in, yeah.
Something that I really want to do, because we had this issue in the UK chapter where we actually organized a meeting that was supposed to be purely productive. It's not discussion, it's not theorizing, we're actually right, we're going to sit down
Okay.
and we're doing something. And one of the
Yeah.
difficult things that we get into when we have meetings is that we go off on tangents. We talk about this, we talk about that. We all have these grandiose ideas. We get a new person come in and they want to talk about, resource-based economy or whatever. We actually need to organize meetings that are
But, yeah, I know what you're talking
specifically
about.
that specifically we are typing, we are writing, we
I
are
know what you're talking about. Yes. Yeah, I've done that with what's the Harakat, the other guy, I can't even remember his name. On the thing where we had the RBE, what is it, the RBE funding thing. If you can go back and look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
Well,
Yeah, we can do that.
it comes back to like Nathan was just saying, and I can let you speak on it, Nathan. But just the need for this to be organized and arranged into like a proper like network system for people to plug into that lives online, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Well, I
As
would
far as
prefer in
as far as
person,
like
but online can work, but it'd always
yeah,
be worse than in person.
well,
Exactly.
as far as like organizational purposes, though, I mean, millennial, you're talking about like incentivizing activists to like be able to get paid and exchange services and kind of develop like an independent network of our own kind of social and financial power,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
that's correct. Yes,
So
that is correct.
how do we like do? Doesn't that kind of have to live online, kind of in a some kind of
It can
way people
do
can
both.
plug into? Yeah,
I mean, there's an online aspect, and then I could suppose there could be a physical aspect also that they can link up. It could be we can integrate them both. But obviously, online is since we're all online. That's how we know each other. That's where it's gonna start for now, until we have the chapter. I mean, I have no idea. Again, I'm in the Connecticut, and I have no idea. I mean, I could go to travel to New York anyway from time to time. So I don't know what's going on with the New York chapter, but if that is something like ultimately, if we want to meet physically, then we would have to, just list time and date, call each other up, and put
I
that together.
think the difficult thing with local chapters is that the majority of local chapters are effectively dead.
Yeah.
We used to have a lot of local chapters. I mean, though, where I live in the country. I had a local chapter, and so, but it's getting to the point where that can happen again. You need to have the online collaborative stuff first to create the foundation for chapters to kind of work from.
Yeah.
So you need to get those principles down, get the values down, and the thing is, a lot of our content that we have on, say, the main website, although a lot of the theory, a lot of the ideas are really good and still relevant, it is very kind of, I think it needs reformatting. It kind of needs a little bit of tweaking and updating, and kind of the presentation in particular needs refining.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And so if we could kind of, and that's something that we don't need to meet up face to face to do that. We
That's
can, because a lot of the content that exists within this movement was done online. I mean, the vast majority of it, most of the documentation was produced from people all over the world.
No,
and
they're
so,
definitely parallel activities for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, Brandon, that's a better term. That's why I kind of said effectively dead. Because that's things are, like you say, dormant. But I think there's still lots of people out there. I'm sure there's probably someone that lives on my street, for all I know, that would be interested in getting involved. But again, we need to have that solid foundation first, and this kind of we're very decentralized at the moment. We've got people on Facebook, we've got people on Discord, we've got people on Telegram. There's people all over the place, and we need to come together and start working. We really need to decide what platform are we going to use, what structure are we going to use, what are our principles and values, and so on. And I think Discord is a good tool at the moment to use. But eventually, what I would like to see us have is a project management solution. For an example being like Basecamp. I don't know if you've seen Basecamp before, but it is a tool that is kind of like, when if you're working in an office, you can kind of just like poke your head over the panel and be like, oh, Dave, could you do this? Or, oh, here's a sticky note. You can like pass stuff along, but you can't do that. You can't do that online here. But what a project management solution does, a project management tool, is that it creates a virtual office. So that if I say to you, Millennial, oh, check out that document, such and such document, you just go to the document section and bang, the documents are all there. And that way we're not having to be like, oh, Millennial, did you see that thing I posted the other day? And then you've got to scroll and scroll and scroll, or I have to post it again. So looking at stuff like that, for the time being, Discord's fine. But
could do that with. I could do something with threads. Like I've done gaming for value stuff with threads, but the Basecamp would probably be better set up for that. From the sound of it.
Yeah, I've used it. It's good. It just, before we can use Basecamp, we need to have something more organizing around a sort of overall goal.
Yeah. So so that's something we need to start up. Like if several of us can start that up. I don't know what's happening with Brandon. He fell off again.
I think he was like on the train or something. I kept hearing background noise.
He's often like in a cafe or something. He's disconnected, so maybe he'll be back.
Yeah, perhaps. So I will actually. I'll really try to see it to just post some things that I think are going to be directional, and I'll post it in the TZM. You should get it by tomorrow, and well, I don't know what tomorrow is for you, but probably in a few within hours, or however, within 12 hours or so, and so I think we'll go from there. As long as you can, as long as you see it, and I'm sure you'll have some suggestions, and we can also arrange to chat about it. That would probably be. Actually, we really should arrange to chat about it, not just voice, both text chat and also voice chat about something like that. And yeah, so we'll go from there. I mean, I'm on board. Is anyone else?
I'm on board with anything that gets us sort of collaborating and working together. So
that's definitely going to do it. So that's good.
Yeah, keep me posted. CC me, whatever you need to do.
Okay, very well. Yeah, well, yeah. I will absolutely, definitely keep you notified. And yeah, so that's good. Yeah, I think that's obviously the critical thing. You see, the thing is, a lot of these things. This is the problem. I know people have. They don't want to. People have egos, and they don't want to have they don't want to hurt other people's. But the issue when you don't have decentralization of some sort, the reality is that there are people who, whether or not they want to be called leaders, they're looked up upon as leaders or organizers, and because of that they're treated, whether or not they say that they wish to or not, because of their actions. And so when we're constantly having to trying to decentralize everything, this is you don't have these types of basic things get done, right? And so and so when you so that's the thing. I mean, you have to let people serve where they are deemed fit to serve. And that's how things get done well, like the first or second times, and properly, and you don't have to go back and like say, okay, why isn't this done? Who knows how to do this? Where do we get this? what happened to that person? You know, let people serve where they are, where their actions show that they're fit to serve. So, does that make sense?
That one escapes me, buddy. But I gotta take a shower. I got a family meeting. But yeah, we'll keep talking, man.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Thanks for the discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been really good. It's a shame we lost Brandon and that Cliff couldn't make it, but I think it's been really productive. And I think if we can organise something else soon in the future, we can get together and come up with some ideas.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yes.
I'll catch
Yes.
you guys later.
Certainly.
Yeah, it was good to see you again, Nathan, and speak
Yeah,
to you soon.
likewise.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I think this is a good idea. What was I thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to get going now as well.
Okay. Yeah, I see. I see. Well, yeah. No, feel free to have a chat. You can just message me, or you can just post something, and let me and ask whether I'll be on, and I can arrange.
Yeah, well, likewise. I mean, it's difficult with the time
Yeah.
zone
Okay.
difference because obviously it's 11:24 p.m. here for me at the
Oh, yeah.
moment.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I'll definitely reach out to you. Yeah. So keep your eyes out for stuff because I will most likely be posting stuff very soon.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I'll be more likely to see it if you PM it to me, so you could do
yeah.
that.
Oh, Brandon's back.
Oh, hey, Brandon.
Hey, Brandon. We were just talking about having a sort of a TZM plan or agenda posted in TZM General. So we are just talking about how we're going to do that. That's pretty much. And Nathan left, so he said bye. And so yeah, so here we are.
Oh, talking to me?
Yes, yes, I am. Yeah, so that's good. Yeah, so I mean, add in things that you think we could do, services, things that we think we could offer, streams, ideas, but ultimately, sort of a roadmap for a guide for what TZM is going to do, the activities of TZM at this point, especially as they, relate to Discord, but in general as well. So on the online platform, and I think it will be very good. I think we're in the right position. I really feel like this is the right thing to do. That we're headed down the right path, and I'm especially looking forward to these streams. I'm still trying to figure out how to do these things, how to like what I want to stream. Of course, that we'll work it out when we do the TZM agenda thing. I don't know what we're gonna call it. Do you have a name for it?
Me? You're the combinatorial name
What do you?
finder.
No, not really. Just kind of,
Oh,
if when I've got time, I will just organize an event and do some streams, and it's the same with anybody else that wants to do
I
anything.
mean, for the TZM document thing that we want to for our activity, organization thing.
I don't know. I guess we'll just have to talk about it some more. I'm not very good with names, so.
Okay. Okay. Oh, well, yeah, I can usually think of something.
something network. We'll just Woody just throw Millennial some terms and he'll plug it in and he'll
Yeah.
do like a little name generator thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I'll
yeah.
think of something for it. Yes. So yeah. So great. This is great. This is great. I think
But it
that's
should be a network.
all I
A
had
network or
for
something.
mostly. Um.
It should
Yeah.
it should be
Yeah.
a network of some kind.
Network. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Something like that. Network document. Yeah.
Something
Okay. Yeah.
something network. Because you're trying to
Okay. Yeah.
develop like an organizational network that can
Yeah. Or like protocol or
connect.
something. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
Wait,
Okay.
wait, wait.
Um.
Which one are you talking about? Which one are you talking about? The purpose of what's the purpose of this one you're talking about?
No. No. The organizational sort of proposals. The list of proposals for things that TZM wants to do. So.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about your other like incentives, like
Oh
gaming
no no no
for
no
value type
no no
thing.
no no. Just the TZM proposals and goals tasks for TZM. Yeah. So yeah, I'll just we'll work on it, and I think it'll be good as long as we're both as long as we're constantly seeing it. I think as long as I keep posting you, I think you'll probably be able to pick up on it. So that will be good.
You could
Yeah.
just
So
call
yeah.
it premises and goals, like TZM premises and goals.
Yeah. Okay. That's very well. I'll consider that. Okay. So that's good. That's good. Yeah.
But yeah, I'll let you go. Thanks for being here and
Very
adding
good.